in order to try to write good dialogue, in the sense that dialogue that flows and moves, it's, as a rule of thumb, the person never fully replies to the person who just spoke to them. They change it, they move on. There's something surprising about their response. That's where you should normally go, I think. Okay, so if I say, what time is it? The other character is not going to tell me what time it is. All right? Now, there's some exceptions to that. But if you start with that, then generally you'll keep the audience interested and guessing and moving, and it won't feel clunky and predictable, because they literally couldn't predict the next line. They didn't know what the next line was going to be. So I say, what time is it? And the other person says it's 7:30. Well, we saw something like that coming. But if I say, what time is it? And the other person says, where are we? Then I'm immediately thinking, okay, what's going on here? There's a disconnect. I'm interested. Okay. Now, there's some times when you would break that rule, and one of the first times is straight away. So he says, why do we have to talk about our relationship? And she says, to make it better. And as I mentioned again in another vlog, I've got this setup where he's more skeptical and she is more believing and in earnest. She doesn't necessarily love him more than he loves her, but she believes in the idea of love and talking about relationships in a way that he can't seem to get with. All right, so she answers, sincerely and authentically, we need to do it to make it better. Now, he immediately twists that. Now, I would describe this as what I would call a lob smash. So her line is very straight. It's a straight answer to what he said, okay, which is the lob. Putting the ball up in the air so that the other side can smash it. And that's what he does, where he comes back with this very devastating answer. Well, it doesn't make it better. It makes it worse. And again, she's in earnest, because we're not doing it right. And again, he twists it, okay? You mean I'm not doing it right. So he's not engaging with this conversation that he doesn't want to engage with. And then she says we're doing it different. We seem to have a different relationship with. Now, different relationship with ... And he prompts that with what? And then she's saying with our relationship. Now, why doesn't it just go, we seem to have a different relationship with our relationship? Well, because I quite liked that line. I thought it was funny. Okay, it was quite a late addition. But I didn't quite believe she would just say it. We have a different relationship with our relationship. They make her a bit of a prat. Okay, so what we wanted was for her to be trying to find the right words. This is an attempt to get her meaning across, where she's quite vulnerable in this sense. It's trying to find, we have a different relationship with our relationship. And he quite cruelly, casts scorn on that. We have a different relationship. Do you realise what you've just said? And, he doesn't give her credit for the fact that wasn't exactly how she meant it to come out. Okay, so we stay with that sympathy with her. Don't think that she's accidentally said something slightly absurd or ridiculous, but we understand why. She was just reaching for the right words and he's jumped on it. Okay, and then there's a slight twist in that she challenges what he's done.
Don't do that thing where you twist my meaning.
She's calling him out on what he's doing, because every time she says something in earnest, he twists it, tries to escape or throw it back at her in a form that is unrecognisable or unfair. Okay, he can't take the challenge, doesn't like the challenge, so he goes to move out. And then we cut back to her on her own.
Please come back.
Which is a very simple line, okay? It's not a kind of dressed up line. And that meets with the point I make again in another vlog. When there's a moment of action or something important is happening, it's trying to get the dialogue down to as simple as possible. Otherwise, it will interfere with what's going on. And the instruction to the actor, Anastasia, which she took very well, was you're not using your anger to get him back. You're using your sincerity, your authenticity, your genuineness, like, please come back. So it's not a weak moment, but you're not sort of attacking him either. And that's a point where she's stronger than he is. And so we're getting this sense of tension, and he has the power in the first part of the part of the conversation in a way, because he's being negative and moving around, and she's showing the vulnerability and he's pressing it home. But then he gets to a certain point where she shows that she has a different power, which in a way the point you're trying to get across with the scene is to create these tensions. One of the ways to do that is to have a gap between what one person is doing and what the other person is doing, and be careful about them doing the same thing. If both of the characters are doing the same thing in the conversation, you're missing an opportunity for drama. You always want some tension between what each of the characters is actually up to, and that shouldn't be usually out and out conflict, argument. That gets boring and tiresome very, very quickly. What you want is something a bit more nuanced and subtle than that, if you can get it, while at the same time trying to make all the language used fit the character and the situation, so that the audience is thinking, yeah, I might say that, or I'm not surprised that he or she said that. That's the sort of thing they would actually say in real life.